What's up, guys? We're on the road to 500 subscribers. When we hit 500 subs, we're giving away this Crimson Octane. Subscribe and comment down below to enter. PC and PlayStation only. Let's get right into the video. Hey guys, in case you didn't know, Rocket League is currently being completely remade inside a brand new game engine, Unreal Engine 5. Rocket League is currently made using Unreal Engine 3, and a lot of people don't know just how old this game engine is. It was pretty outdated even when Rocket League was made back in 2015. The engine itself was presented back in 2004, and the first games were released in 2006. Yeah, that's right, Rocket League runs on the same game engine as the original Gears of War.
There's a shitload of grubs there, Sergeant!
More like 10 shitloads.
Since the game essentially has to be completely remade to be moved over to Unreal Engine 5, there's no better time for the developers to make changes, add new features, and just generally improve Rocket League. Most of the Rocket League player base is really looking forward to a new version of Rocket League, so I don't think there's a better time for us as a community to let PSYONIX know what we want to see in the new game. So with that being said, here's the top 5 features PSYONIX should add to the new Unreal Engine 5 version of Rocket League when it's released late this year or next year. Hopefully we don't have to wait until 2024. If any of you have played CSGO before, you may be familiar with the way they create new items to be added into CSGO. Every once in a while, Valve has a poll and people vote which custom community-made skins they like best. Valve, the makers of CSGO, then picks from the top voted skins and adds them into the next round of items to be included into the game. I really think Rocket League would benefit from something like this. Imagine if every season there was a bunch of custom Octane, Dominus, and Fennec decals that people have been making all season that we all get to vote on. Then PSYONIX would just pick the ones that were voted the highest and add it into the game. It would save on a ton of resources for PSYONIX since they'd essentially be outsourcing item design. Also, having the community create and vote on items would get so many more people involved and give content creators much more to talk about and participate in. In the CSGO example, the artists that make the skins all make money via percentage from each skin sold. This is a great way to incentivize making items people actually want while getting the community involved in the whole process, increasing engagement in all aspects of the game. So PSYONIX traditionally has the opinion that they know their game and what their users want more than the people who actually play the game. And to be fair, this isn't entirely without reason. But in this particular instance, PSYONIX's dismissive attitude towards community input really hurts the game. I just want to be clear, this wouldn't need to be all the items that are created. Maybe have like one decal, one boost, one wheel, etc. that people can vote on to be included in each item series. I just really wish PSYONIX would reevaluate their attitude towards community input in Rocket League and let us make some items too. I think the community could come up with some great ideas. And as long as we're talking about items, I want to quickly mention how much I wish they'd add an item marketplace to Rocket League or the Epic Games launcher. Right now on Steam, if you have an item in CSGO and a lot of other games, you can immediately list the item for sale at any price you want. And when the item sells, it's automatically removed from your inventory and added to the buyer's inventory. You don't even need to be online when this happens. The next time you log on, you can see your item sold and you get the money, credits, or whatever the person traded in your inventory. Obviously, this is only possible due to the Steam Marketplace, and currently there's nothing like this feature in the Epic Games Launcher, so I can't see this happening now. Furthermore, I can't really see Epic adding this feature because in Fortnite, their item shop is based on a forced scarcity model that attempts to apply pressure to its users to buy items since the availability of these items is artificially limited in order to get people to purchase now instead of waiting. I'm really hoping that Rocket League doesn't switch to the Fortnite model because there's a large and faithful community devoted to trading items, and I know that they'd be crushed if trading was removed, but wouldn't it be nice if they added a marketplace to give the traders an even better experience? For all the features in this list, I'm going to give a probability of how likely I think these are to happen. So for the community made items, I really hope I'm wrong, but I can't give this more than a 2 out of 5 because it'd take an entire kind of like attitude change from PSYONIX, and I don't really see that happening anytime soon. And for the item marketplace, I'm gonna have to give this a 1 out of 5 or even a 0 out of 5. This would be amazing, but honestly, I can't see it ever happening. There's currently no support for this, and I think PSYONIX and like Epic have the idea that this would hurt their sales even if they took a percentage of the cut. So there's just really no chance of this ever happening. Creative mode is easily the #1 most requested thing from the Rocket League player base, and people have been asking for this for a long time. To be fair though, PSYONIX does know this, and I really think they would have added it to the game if they had the capability. PSYONIX doesn't really have the ability to expand on this, and I think it's because of the way the current engine works and the mess it would create with network code and all the different consoles trying to run these custom maps. I don't fully understand how it currently works, so correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I have heard it would be a total mess if they tried putting creative mode in now. The current version does not officially support more than a single player lobby, and is restricted to the Steam version, which has been discontinued. There's obviously ways to get it working on the Epic version with Bacchus mod, but it's not easy. Most people don't bother. What people really want is a way for them to play custom maps with their friends inside the standard version of Rocket League that doesn't require any mods or workarounds. As far as I'm aware, you can currently do this in Fortnite by just entering a code to a specific map. There's so many creative map makers in the community that an easily accessible creative mode would be such a big win for Rocket League. Imagine you could get into a party with all your friends, just enter a code to automatically download a new game mode or map, and everyone can load into the lobby. You can just be playing hide and seek or mini golf in a few minutes. You wouldn't have to go to 3 different websites and download 3 different mods and troubleshoot for a few hours just to play like a wacky game mode for 30 minutes. You could even have a feature that allows the creatives of the custom maps to have a creator code that would allow them a small kickback for like being the most played maps and game modes and whatnot. Even without this monetization, the addition of all these new maps to the entire player base, consoles included, would prevent this game from getting stale. I play this game far more than the average person does, and I spend so many hours grinding rank, but most people aren't psychos and don't play Rocket League like this. The majority of people play video games for fun. They just want to open up a game and have a pleasant experience, which, if we're honest, is getting pretty hard to do in Rocket League in its current state. If you're not playing for competitive reasons, there isn't a ton of incentive to play this game. Just adding a creative mode would change this overnight. It would save PSYONIX having to constantly come up with a new game mode people want to play by allowing the community to make and test all the stuff on their own. There's tons of creative people in this community. I'd love to see what they come up with. So for the likelihood that we actually get a creative mode in Rocket League, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4 out of 5. I hope I'm not being too optimistic, but I really think PSYONIX has heard everyone's pleas for the last 5 years, and this being the #1 thing everyone wants, I mean, they had to have heard it. So I'm pretty sure we'll end up getting like some version of creative mode. Whether it has 100% of the features we want, I mean, I'm sure it won't, but if it has like 90% of the features we want, I'm gonna consider that a win. It's all really gonna come down to what's possible with UE5 and the developers and how much they can actually implement on the technical side. I have pretty high hopes for this, and I think that all the begging for all these years has actually gotten through to developers, and they're probably working pretty hard on this. Alright, so this one might be my most controversial feature. Most people I've talked to said they don't want the physics to change even a little bit. And while I don't think that would be a bad outcome if the physics were completely identical, I do think there are some improvements we could make. Have you ever noticed that when you play Rocket League, you spend most of the game at top speed? That's because the top speed your car can go is actually pretty slow compared to the speed of the game and the ball. Even a small increase in top speed would allow you to hit the ball faster and set up attacks so much quicker. This increase wouldn't make the game any harder for new people learning the game, since most of what they do is slow anyway, but end up raising the skill ceiling for like the people who know the most about the game and love mastering all the mechanics. Right now, so much of the meta game is based on who can control the ball at a speed just slightly slower than top speed, because once the ball reaches your car's top speed, you can no longer catch it or interact with it in any way. While it's true that would be the case for any top speed, if we had a higher top speed, more of the game would be able to play at speeds where accelerating your car and the ball together are an option. This is where the attacking player has the most options and makes for the more exciting gameplay. Right now, the difference between 0 and top speed is so small that most people who are somewhat decent at the game can achieve top speed in almost no time at all. Increasing our car's top speed would allow more freedom and increase the options for the attacking players, making the Rocket League metagame less defensive. Right now, the meta is too defensive-sided and requires the players to perform all kinds of crazy mechanics like flip resets to try to score, when all the defending player really has to do is get back to net on time and challenge early. Increasing the top speed would balance this a bit and give the attackers a bit more of an advantage. Although I've been making the case for a slight tweak in the game physics, I want to be clear that I wouldn't be upset at all if it ended up being identical to the current physics. The current physics aren't bad, and I would hate to see the game get worse. Since I love learning and trying to master all the complex mechanics that are part of the game, I'm certain it would be a huge mistake to remove all these from the game and make such drastic changes to nerf the skill ceiling. Rocket League really has to be careful not to fall into the same trap that Super Smash Bros. Did. For anyone unfamiliar, the Smash community has had a pretty hard time moving on from the second version of the game, Super Smash Bros. Melee. For anyone not familiar with Melee, it was a really fast-paced and mechanically rich game that had a large, loyal fan base, kind of like Rocket League does now. It had complex mechanics that the player base spent years learning, like wave dashing and L canceling. That's right, guys, if you didn't know, wave dashing originated in Super Smash Bros. Melee. However, when the sequel to Melee came out, The developers dumbed the game down a lot. They removed wave dashing and a lot of the other mechanics people loved in the game just to keep the skill ceiling really low to make it more enticing to new players. You couldn't really get good at the game no matter how hard you tried. The result was a game that rewarded defensive and campy types of gameplay, and most enthusiastic players and all the competitors really hated it. This is actually when I stopped playing Smash Brothers. Most of the competitors actually went back to Melee, with most of the fans following them. We definitely don't want to see this happen in Rocket League. Rocket League currently has a requirement to play on official servers, so if the new version comes out and it completely sucks, we can't actually go back to the current version we have now, so we have to get it right. Now, since we're talking about game mechanics, I really would like a change to demos. I don't know if this will happen. A lot of people are calling for like the complete removal of demos. I don't think that's the best option because it's a counter to people who camp net and play way too defensively. I do think they need to be reined in somewhat. Currently, it's just too easy to completely delete someone from the field for 3 seconds. And the way demos work now, it only requires that the demoer be at supersonic speed and touch an opposing car, and then they blow up. It doesn't matter how fast the opposing car is going. If the demoing car is going supersonic and you're going 1 kilometer an hour slower, you get demoed. In my opinion, this is just kind of ridiculous and rewards people for being slightly behind the play. Instead, I'd like to see the demos determined by a speed differential, not the demoing player's ultimate speed. Say you had the requirement that demos had to have a speed differential of, let's say, like 40 kilometers an hour, although the actual value could be tested and could figure out which speed is the best. Now that would mean you could only demo someone who's going significantly slower than you are, and this would still punish people camping net that are parked there, but it would also eliminate a lot of the most frustrating demos. These happen when players are both going supersonic. The game gives out a demo to someone in some unclear manner, which is usually determined by ping. With the new system, any collision made that doesn't meet the demo requirements would still result in a bump. So it wouldn't completely remove the game mechanic of players being able to challenge for position. It would just remove the massive punishment for a small and sometimes random difference in speed and position that can be game changing because of how powerful demos currently are. All right, with all this being said, I do think PSYONIX understands the importance of all this. They have a really good track record actually of making the most minimal changes to the game physics in order to preserve the competitive integrity of the game. In case anyone was wondering, the current version doesn't actually use Unreal Engine 3's physics engine. It uses an entirely different physics engine called Bullet, which they then port into the Unreal Engine 3 version of Rocket League. I'm told they could just reuse the Bullet engine in the Unreal 5 version as well. I highly recommend watching Rocket Science's video he did on Unreal Engine 5. He's way smarter than me and goes into far more detail than I'm capable of. All right, so I have to guess on what version of physics we'll end up getting. I'd say it's gonna be a version that's almost identical to physics we currently have, with maybe some of the like weird bounces removed, like goalpost and crossbar bounces that are pretty jank right now. Again, Rocket Science goes into good detail in his video about these, so go check out his video. I'm gonna give the increase in top speed a probability of 2 out of 5. I honestly don't think it's gonna happen because it's such a drastic change, but I do think it would be a change for the better. They have said they're gonna get pros to test the new version before it comes out, so maybe. However, for the demo changes, I'm gonna end up giving this a 3.5 out of 5. Although they might not use my idea of making demos based on speed differential, I do think they're aware of the large amount of frustration that people currently have with demos, and they have made changes in the past to address this. Since a lot of pros hate demos too, and they're gonna be getting feedback from them during the testing process, I do think there's a high chance that they're gonna be pretty significant changes to the way demos work. So for a while, people have been asking for more car customization options, including things like underglow, car wings, tire colors, neon finish, and a better color palette. I'm sure the community can come up with like far more things than that. Some of these things are available right now through mods like Alpha Console and Bacchus mod. The current version of these changes is done through mods, and it's a bit janky and it doesn't always work right. I remember setting up underglow once through mods and it just looked weird. Nobody wants that. The reason PSYONIX is given why they can't add underglow and things like that is because it wouldn't work on any console. Think of like a Switch trying to run Bacchus mod. I guess it's really resource intensive. Using Unreal Engine 5, it could be possible for these things to run on lower spec hardware and overall just look nicer. This is because Unreal Engine 5 can use your computer's power or the console power more efficiently, and they can implement better animations for everything, that even things we have already like decals and goal explosion boost, etc. I'm actually kind of surprised we haven't had more of these added, like spoilers and hood scoops and tire colors and stuff like that. So this one's kind of a no-brainer. I think it's gonna be a 5 out of 5 that we get at least some more options, whether it's tire colors, underglow, etc. I do think we'll get more colors because I think in Sideswipe there's currently a lot more color options than there is in Rocket League. We'll definitely end up getting something new. I'm not sure exactly what it'll be, but anything PSYONIX adds to the game is just gonna be another thing people buy and pay them money for, so there's really no incentive for them not to add stuff that they can. So 5 out of 5 for this one. So using a more powerful game engine, we can expect an overall better looking game. Unreal Engine 5 has a ton of new tech to make things that were completely impossible up until now. Even movie studios are using Unreal Engine 5 to render backdrops. UE5 adds nanite, which drastically reduces the load that large assets have on the performance of a game, and Lumen, which adds a far more realistic way to light scenes. The engine's gonna make things possible now that just weren't a reality before this, like real-time ray tracing. I think we forget just how big of a difference Unreal Engine 3 and Unreal Engine 5 are. Here's a look back at the promotional footage for both versions and a comparison between the two. With all this extra graphical power, Rocket League's gonna look way better than it ever has, and I can't wait to see how pretty everything looks. But there's two ways you can adjust your graphical settings in competitive games. Most of the more casual players set the graphics as high as they can while still maintaining a stable frame rate. They want the game to look as good as possible without having a large impact on performance. You can also go the opposite way with your graphics, and this is what I do. I'm not really interested in like the pretty features that make it look nice. I just want the highest frame rate and the lowest amount of input latency. I'm thinking of making a video on the best way to set up your computer for Rocket League and all the settings you should either enable or disable. So if you want to see that, let me know down below. As long as PSYONIX lets people like me adjust their graphics really low to make the game run great, I'm happy that the engine allows for pretty stuff as well. I think this is one of the instances that like both sides can win and people can just set up the game however they want. This is an easy 5 out of 5 because PSYONIX is obviously going to make the game look better than the old one. Honestly, I don't think it's even possible for them to make the game look worse. So this one's a pretty easy one. It's gonna look great, and I'm excited to see how the game ends up looking. Fortnite's already on Unreal Engine 5, and that looks great. So I expect Rocket League to look pretty good. And most of the items we already have are just gonna end up looking better. Alright, so I think everyone's like really hopeful that Unreal Engine 5 Rocket League is gonna come out and it's gonna solve everyone's issues, but I have this kind of like fear, paranoia that I'm gonna fire up the new version of Rocket League and it's gonna be exactly the same but with just better graphics. But I think that's just paranoia. I think they are gonna add cool stuff and this is gonna be a huge win for everyone. I wish they'd be a bit more transparent and inclusive during the development process, but they have started to get better in this department. They recently did a behind the scenes episode about Knockout Bash where they talked about the creation process and like all the things that went in, and they interviewed the people who made it. It was really cool. Everyone should go check that out. So great job guys, love that. Hope to see more of it in the future. I know we're not gonna end up getting everything we want with the new version of Rocket League, but I am optimistic that PSYONIX is gonna get it right and Rocket League's gonna finally be the version of game we all knew it could be. Even though it's probably still a long ways out from being released, I'm excited to play it and see what they come up with. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.